In San Francisco, pharmaceutical chemist Will Rodman tests the viral-based drug on chimpanzees at the biotechnology company 𝐏𝐥𝐚𝐧𝐞𝐭 to find a cure for Alzheimer's disease. 112 is given to a chimpanzee named Bright Eyes, greatly increasing her intelligence. However, during Will's presentation for the drug, Bright Eyes is forced from her cage, goes on a rampage, and is shot to death. Will's superior Stephen Jacobs terminates the project. However, Will's assistant Robert Franklin reveals that the reason for Bright Eyes' rampage was that she had recently given birth. Will reluctantly takes in the infant chimpanzee, naming him Caesar. Discovering that Caesar has inherited his mother's intelligence through being exposed to ALZ-112, Will decides to raise him. 3 years later, Caesar becomes highly intelligent. He can communicate through sign language. Will and Caroline, a primatologist, introduce Caesar to the redwood forest at Muir Woods National Monument so he can roam. Will treats his father, Charles, with ALZ-112, which seems to restore his cognitive ability. 5 years later, Caesar, now entering adulthood, questions his origins and place in the world. Charles's condition returns as his immune system becomes resistant to ALZ-112. Caesar accidentally injures an aggressive neighbor, Douglas Hunziker, while defending Charles. The local animal control subsequently takes him to an ape shelter. Caesar is tortured by the alpha chimpanzee, Rocket, and the chief guard, Dodge Landon. However, Caesar befriends Maurice, a former circus orangutan who also knows sign language. With the assistance of Buck, a gorilla, Caesar claims the position of alpha. Meanwhile, Jacobs clears the development of a more powerful version of the drug, the ALZ-113, which can improve intelligence. Will takes the drug home for his father, but Charles declines further treatment and dies. After attempting to test the drug on a bonobo named Koba, Franklin accidentally becomes exposed to ALZ-113 and becomes ill. Despite the risks, Jacobs orders continued trials but Will quits his position. Attempting to warn Will at his home, Franklin sneezes blood and is later discovered dead. Will attempts to reclaim Caesar, but Caesar decides to stay and steals the ALZ-113 canisters from Will's house and enhances the intelligence of the other apes in the shelter. When Dodge attempts to get him back into his cage, Caesar reveals he can speak. He fights with Dodge while freeing the apes, inadvertently killing him. The apes flee, releasing Koba and the remaining apes from 𝐏𝐴𝐴 and freeing other apes from the zoo. A battle ensues as the apes fight their way past a police blockade on the Golden Gate Bridge in an attempt to escape into the redwood forest. To rescue Caesar, Buck sacrifices himself to down a helicopter. Koba pushes the helicopter, with Jacobs still inside, into the sea. As the apes find their way into the forest, Will finds and warns Caesar that the humans will hunt them, begging him to return home. Caesar hugs him and says he is home. Will accepts Caesar's wishes and the apes embrace their new lifestyle in the forest. Meanwhile, Hunziker, now infected with ALZ-113, arrives at San Francisco International Airport for his flight. He eventually spreads the virus around the planet, leading to a deadly pandemic.
Thank you for joining us on this cinematic adventure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating stories from the world of film.